Welcome back to Hardball. Actually, electability has come up a lot in this campaign. People talk all about who can beat Trump. Here goes.
I think it's going to be the voters in Iowa and across the country who are going to decide that issue of electability. No one knows who's electable right now.
I think the biggest risk we could take is to try to play it safe. But I think this idea of electability is an illusion and a dangerous one.
I've been to blue states, purple states, red parts of blue states, all because I'm reaching out to run for president of all of America. And I think a lot of folks are ready for change, and 2020 is our big chance.
We need a candidate that is not the safe bet. We need the candidate that can speak not just to the head, but to the heart and to the gut. That's the candidate who I am.
In other words, a long shot. I'm sure right now by Jason Johnson, politics. I'd say that if I were him, too. Bet on the long shot. He's with Root.com. And Susan Page is Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. So, you know, I think polls are all we got.
Right.
And right now, what do the polls tell you about who's electable? If that means anything, you can bet based on all the polls.
I've always said that Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, probably Beto O'Rourke are electable. Whether or not they're viable, which is you can win your party's nomination, is something different. I think Joe Biden has a better chance of winning a general election than he does of actually winning the nomination.
Yeah.
And so that I think we always have to sort of separate.
Too bad it's not first.
Exactly. Yeah. He could pull that one off.
I don't know, because I think, well, your thoughts.
I think that there are other things to look at besides polls. Polls are one thing to look at, but you look at intensity of support. You look who gets crowds that turn out. Do they connect with the crowds? Do the crowds get excited? Are the crowds more excited after the event than they were before the event? That's an important thing to look at. So I think by that standard, Joe Biden is obviously the front runner, but Elizabeth Warren has done pretty well by the standard of getting people to be enthusiastic about her and to like her better after the event than they did when they walked.
Look, I think she's the favorite right now to win Iowa, and I think once you win Iowa, it's a whole new ballgame.
You know, if you want to show you're electable, win something.
See, here's the catch, though. If you're talking about intensity in ground game, Bernie Sanders has a great ground game. He has intensity. The issue that the reason I question whether or not he's electable is because I don't know if Bernie Sanders has already hit his ceiling. The people who like him love him, and they don't really want to support anybody else. But I don't see Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren has jumped because she ate all Kamala Harris's support. She ate all of Pete Buttigieg's support. I don't see Bernie Sanders pulling away from supporters from other people and gaining in his lead.
Although it's interesting because we've seen them pull from somewhat the same group of voters. They have similar positions and yet not attacking one another.
Exactly.
Interesting approach for them to take. And if they keep doing that, that has, I think, also served Elizabeth Warren's interest because she has not annoyed Bernie Sanders supporters in a way that would make them, which is easy to make them less likely to support her down the road if Bernie Sanders didn't go the distance.
You know what I think is a problem with the Biden thing? Joe Biden said the other day, I never knocked on his family members, but she basically said, even if you don't like his health care, you know, she should have said it a little more elegantly, of course, and said if it's not progressive enough for you, which is just a measure. But people don't like being told what they can't do.
Right.
And that's always been my experience. When people say, you can't vote for Reagan, he's too right. Oh, yeah? I'll make up my mind. Oh, yeah? You can't vote for these other candidates because they can't win in general. Oh, yeah? I'll make up my mind. Don't tell me I got to vote for Biden.
Also,
and I think that is the strategy they're saying right now. You have to vote for me.
People who win the presidency have voters who want to vote for them. They're not voters that make some elaborate calculation
strategic decision
down the road. It's somebody they like, they believe in, they're enthusiastic about. So I think that attitude does not serve Vice President Biden well.
Let's talk about this debates coming up. I'm big on small debates,
right?
Like 2 people. We're not going to get that for a while, maybe 3, but 3 doesn't even work because Ross Perot screwed the whole thing up with his games he plays. Or there's the guy with rent's too high kind of character. We don't need that. Or the 999 guy. We don't need that stuff. We need people who are actually running for the general election right now. So my hunch is, if we get a debate with Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders on the stage together with the outliers who are really gaming this thing or gunning for it, like Cory Booker and Buttigieg, right? Are they going to go to war?
I don't think the top candidates are.
Kind of like too.
Yeah.
Are they going to go to war? Or are they going to wait for Cory to do the shot?
They're going to let Cory, they're going to let Beto, they're going to let Buttigieg, they're going to let Harris do all those things.
Let do the shot, punch shots.
Exactly. Those guys are going to do the suicide mission, and those top 3 candidates are going to be trying to establish themselves as being electable. Elizabeth Warren hasn't attacked a lot of people. Bernie Sanders, he didn't really attack Hillary Clinton that much. He left it to his surrogates. I don't think
enough about the emails.
Right. Exactly.
Remember?
Yeah, he was that guy. He was like, I'm not going to do that. So I don't think we're going to get this big melee that we want in Houston from the top 3. It's going to be all the other sort of satellite people who are going to make those fights.
I would like to see your impressions of all the candidates.
They're not as good. He's easy. I used to do, I love Bill Clinton. I could do Bill Clinton a lot better. Let me ask you about this. Why are some of these candidates, we're covering everything tonight, why are some of them not able to break out of 1 or 2%? What is it that has kept Inslee got nowhere? He's a gentleman, obviously left. This is good. Hickenlooper left.
Right.
There's some guys that this ain't working. But there's a lot of them for whom it is not working.
Right.
And I'm not going to name them because then I'm putting them out of the game. They have to decide. But there's so many that have not got launched. Failure to launch.
Right.
What's going on?
You don't have a story. Look, Tim Ryan used to be my congressman. I think he's great individually. He's a great congressman. He doesn't have a story. Jay Inslee, look, the guy looks like Christopher Reeve, Superman. Great image as a president, but he didn't have a story other than climate change. You have to have a narrative in order to break through the dying of 20-something people.
Yeah.
Harris had a narrative. Mayor Pete had a narrative. Beto had a narrative. These bottom feeders didn't have a story. And outside of Marianne Williamson, who she got Googled a lot, but it didn't turn into numbers, and Tulsi Gabbard, you got to have a story to make people pay attention. They don't have one.
Who can still jump up? Can Kamala break out of the 5 and 7?
Sure. It's pretty early. Let's remember it's August. And it's not even
I am
August
stunned by her inability to be really near the top of the field.
We've seen this in the past where a candidate that gets counted out even at the beginning of the process comes around and wins the nomination.
Well,
so the candidates who are still in the race and who are slogging through Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada, I wouldn't count them out.
Let's talk about the black-white thing, because it's really talked about. I hate talking like this because it sounds like South Africa. We're talking about tribes, but let's face it, it's the way people vote in many cases.
Always has been.
African-American women, they're not breaking for Buttigieg. They're not breaking for even Kamala yet.
Nope.
So they're breaking for Trump. I'm sorry. What am I saying?
not either black woman I know. Outside
I don't always say the right thing. You know what I meant. They're breaking for Biden.
They're breaking for Biden and they're breaking for Warren, right?
Yeah.
They're leaving Bernie, right? Bernie, it's Biden and Bernie who are doing the best with black voters. But Elizabeth Warren has been doing better and better with African-American women who tend to be the influencers, who tend to bring black men along. Pete Buttigieg is doing terrible with black voters, even though he's trying. But the difference that you're also seeing in these campaigns,
orientation we hear.
Well,
is it?
No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's because of his youth. It's because of his background, and it's because of his own staff. If you notice, the campaigns that tend to be doing better with black voters, they either have high name recognition or they've actually hired black staffers.
Oh, that's smart.
That makes a difference.
Boy, that's complicated.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jason Johnson. Thank you, Susan Page. Still ahead. Why